Once, these nations held promise. Iran, Venezuela, Cuba, each enjoyed a period of economic success. They were beacons of hope, their futures bright. But their falls from grace have been dramatic. Today, they are cautionary tales. They show how quickly prosperity can crumble. What went wrong? How did these nations go from riches to rags? The answer is complex. It involves a potent cocktail of political turmoil, economic missteps, and global pressures. Their stories, while unique, share common threads. These are not just tales of economic failure. They are stories of human struggle, stories of people caught in the crossfire of mismanagement and misfortune. It is a stark reminder that economic stability is fragile, and its loss has profound consequences. Before the 1979 revolution, Iran experienced an economic boom. The Shah, fueled by oil revenue, launched ambitious modernization projects. The economy surged. Cities like Tehran transformed, boasting modern infrastructure. Iran's oil wealth promised a bright future. The nation invested heavily in education and healthcare. Living standards rose. Iran seemed poised to become a regional powerhouse, but this prosperity masked underlying tensions. The Shah's authoritarian rule bred discontent. Income inequality widened. The seeds of revolution were sown. Venezuela, too, rode the wave of oil wealth. Sitting atop the world's largest proven oil reserves, Venezuela prospered in the 1970s. Oil money funded social programs, improving lives for many. Caracas became a vibrant metropolis, a symbol of Venezuela's newfound wealth. The future seemed secure, awash in the black gold that flowed beneath its soil. But this dependence on oil proved to be a double-edged sword. When oil prices plummeted in the 1980s, Venezuela's economy faltered. The stage was set for the political and economic turmoil that would follow.
Breaking news.
Cuba's story differs slightly. Its peak came after the 1959 revolution. Fidel Castro's government, initially buoyed by Soviet support, made strides in healthcare and education. Sugar, Cuba's economic backbone, enjoyed a period of high prices. This fueled the nation's development. Cuba became a model for socialist development, boasting impressive social indicators. However, the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991 dealt a devastating blow. Cuba lost its main trading partner and source of aid. Combined with the US embargo, Cuba's economy spiraled into crisis. The fatal flaw: oil dependency and political mismanagement. A common thread links the decline of Iran, Venezuela and Cuba over reliance on a single commodity. Iran and Venezuela bet heavily on oil. Cuba depended on sugar and Soviet aid. This lack of diversification made them vulnerable to price shocks and geopolitical shifts. When oil prices crashed or Soviet aid dried up, their economies reeled. But economic mismanagement exacerbated the problem. Corruption became rampant. Governments made poor investment choices. Populist policies, while initially popular, proved unsustainable. The price of isolation, sanctions and economic fallout. International sanctions added another layer of pressure. Iran's nuclear program, Venezuela's human rights violations and Cuba's communist regime drew condemnation and sanctions. These sanctions, while aimed at political change, also crippled their economies. Access to international markets was restricted. Foreign investment dried up. The cost of doing business soared. The combination of internal mismanagement and external pressure proved devastating. These once promising nations found themselves mired in economic quicksand. Rising from the ashes, South Korea and Vietnam's success stories. Yet there is hope. Countries like South Korea and Vietnam faced their own crises. War, poverty and political instability plagued their past. But through sound economic policies and good governance, they transformed themselves. They focused on education, invested in infrastructure and embraced globalization. They diversified their economies, moving beyond reliance on a single sector. Crucially, they tackled corruption and promoted good governance. Their stories demonstrate that recovery is possible. It requires a commitment to reform, a willingness to embrace change, and often a helping hand from the international community. A glimmer of hope. The path to recovery. Can Iran, Venezuela and Cuba follow a similar path? The road to recovery will be long and arduous. Deep-seated problems require comprehensive solutions. Economic diversification is key. Over-reliance on oil or other commodities must end. Investing in education, technology and renewable energy can create a more resilient and sustainable future. Equally important is addressing corruption and improving governance. Transparency, accountability and the rule of law are essential for attracting investment and fostering economic growth. A time for change. The future of Iran, Venezuela and Cuba. The future of these nations hangs in the balance. Will they remain trapped in a cycle of decline, or can they break free and chart a new course? The answer lies in the hands of their people and their leaders. It demands bold decisions, difficult reforms, and a willingness to embrace a different future. The world watches and waits. Will these nations rise again? The coming years will tell.